All right, welcome back to another Altered TCG Tournament Results recap for the week ending the 10th of August 2025. I have just come back from Dallas and it has been fantastic to see the team and the players in that amazing tournament for the World Qualifiers from the US, the first of two, and seeing it's Rinku, take it out using Kojo and Buddha. So fantastic work for them, but we'll go through the entire week and its tournament results as we speak. So the AWOL, though, unfortunately, there was no tournament on the Monday, given people were making their way into there, so we don't have results for that one. We will return next week, or when we do the recap next, it will become available. But League Latam was the tournament that kicked us off for week 8, 46 players, so slight reduction on the prior week, and we had a Trayston Rossum deck take the win piloted by KRA Keifu. Now let's have a look at their deck. So the main thing to look at is only two of the three hooks being used, the double Keelon Cylinder and the triple Haven Bastion. One thing of note is there's that big discussion in terms of how many landmarks is enough landmarks, how many landmarks is too much, and they have chosen for the 5 in terms of what they'll do, 2 Keelon Cylinders and 3 Haven Bastions. They do have repotter otters, which are fantastic to see. The other thing of note is that only 2 Grems at the rare and one common Grem's being used. Really focused in this case, believing that they need to spend the additional rares to be able to take out some other a higher costed permanents in play by their opponent, and also some Gibbles in play, which is not something that I traditionally have seen in a Trayston Rossum build. Looking at their uniques, the first one is a 3/2 2/2/1 Repotter Otter, and when played from anywhere, or when a card goes from your hand or deck to reserve, create a Brass Bug 2/2/2 robot token in your other expedition, and he has a from reserve ability. Each player may put a card from their hand in reserve when it's played from reserve. That's really lovely. The second one is a Repotter 3/3 for a 1/3/1 in cost, and when played from anywhere, each player may put a card from their hand in reserve. So really nice on both of these to keep on replenishing that reserve, which is the way that Therese wants to play. When a card goes from hand or deck to reserve, create a Brassbug robot token in your other expedition. Same effect as the other, both very strong. But this does have an ability from a quick ability, which is you may activate the arrow ability of a target permanent you control. The Tinkerbell being the third of their uniques, a 3/3 for 2/0/2 in stats, and when played from anywhere, draw a card, so double draw ability. And when I leave the expedition zone, you may put a card from your hand in reserve if you do sabotage. Once again, very central to the way that Trayston Rossum wants to be built, and they have been the sole winner of the LATAM tournament, undefeated 6-0, as said before. The next tournament we have is AQZ Blitz on Wednesday. I have put up last week's results here, as we were not able to get these up in time on 39 cards, and there were 2 decks that were undefeated, all of the marbles playing Trayston Rossum. All of the marbles seems to play a lot of different decks as they were getting ready for the US qualifiers, and Red R4-bit, so Red Rabbit, I guess, on Akesha and Taru taking out the top spot with 5-0 stats. Now, looking at all of the marbles, we can see here a very similar build to what we had before. Their uniques are different, though, and they've also switched it up with 2 common Grems instead of the 1, and they are also using Bug Out Bag as what they've got. But let's have a look at the uniques that all of the marbles used in this tournament. So their first one is a 3/2 Anansi 2/2/2. And at dusk, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, draw a card, and when played from reserve, I gain 1 boost for each card in your reserve. The second Anansi, a little bit more expensive with 4/2 for 2/2/3 in stats, but it is from anywhere. You may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 1 boost for each card in each player's reserve. Fantastic ability on that side. And then their third card is a unique Munidruid. I think it's the first time I've seen a unique Munidruid in Axiom be used in the top tables. 3/2 for 2/1/3, and when played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 1 boost for each card in your reserve. So basically, an Anansi that is really a Munidruid, in this case, sorry, a Munidruid that is actually an Anansi, and also has the Munidruid quick ability of up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchored. Well done. The second result that was undefeated, the second deck was Nekesha and Taru by Red Rabbit. And what we're looking here is it's almost as if they're playing the Afarnas way with so many spells, 16 spells and only 23 characters here. A unique Baku, which I'm interested to see, a unique Belasenka, and Silas Cryptic Warlock. So this means they must be looking at a drawing face, some way of drawing and getting some things, and 3 hungers in play. So after use, very central to this game as well. And let's have a look at their Baku. 4/4 for 3/2/3, and when played from reserve, you may discard a card from your reserve. If you do, target opponent discards a card from their hand, and when I leave the expedition zone, target opponent discards a card from their hand. Ouch. So double discard when it's played from reserve, single discard when played from hand. Really, really strong. Daring Porter, 4/4 for 2/3/2. You may, when played from anywhere, you may discard a spell from your reserve. If you do, resupply. And at dusk, target opponent discards a card from their hand. And it also has a quick ability of you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. And then the third of their uniques is a 5/4 Belasenka, 3/4/2 in stats, and when played from anywhere, exhaust up to 2 cards in reserve, really strong. And when I leave the expedition zone, if there are 2 or more exhausted characters in cards in reserve, target opponent discards a card from their hand. So a Baku element in there, double Baku on top of the triple Baku on the Baku itself. Fantastic work. Well done to both those players. And then we had the last of all the Blitz tournaments, at least for this season. We'll see what Pandy Andy says about this tournament going forward and the rest of Team AQZ. So this was completed on the 29th of July, and there were 3 players that were undefeated here. ALS Milogros on Acharian Surge, AJT Birgo on Tasia and Naura, and AFTU Gamma Knight on Nevenka and Bloch. So let's have a look at those 3 undefeated decks in the final Blitz tournament for the season, although I do believe we have been advised that there is going to be one last tournament that brings all the champions together. And let's have a look at what we've got here. So ALS Milogros, they are with their Acharian Surge, really very much looking at using Demeter as their way of growing and being able to keep some of those cards in play for longer. So looking at that eternal status, Eat Me Energy Bars, Mana Eruptions, Mana Flare. The Mana Eruptions, of course, Mana Channeling, Duel of Grit. Let's have a look as to see, and Kaibara, only the single Kaibara choosing to opt for the Theseus. 2 Theseuses, of course they're going to have the Hunger. Of course they're going to have Sakuraba in their decks as well. But let's have a look at their uniques that were applied in this winning deck. And a 7/7, a 7/8, and a 7/8 Demeter. The first 7/7 is 7/5/5. If I'm in Forest, I am Eternal. And when played from hand, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, you may discard target permanent. Lovely. And it has a draw card when played from reserve as well. If you want to use its quick ability in reserve. The second 7/8 Demeter is 7/5/4, and if I'm in Forest, I am Eternal. And when played from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 3 boosts. Huge. And then the third of the Demeters is 7/8 6/5/4. If I'm in Forest, I am Eternal, and from anywhere, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, I gain 3 boosts. Very similar in terms of the second and the third. Congratulations to ALS Milogros for their 5-0 tournament win. And the second, let's move across to AJT Burgor, which was the second undefeated character. Well done to Tasia and Nara. Well done to Burgor to getting this. And we are looking at 3 very distinct uniques. I'm interested, because they're different characters, whether they have the same ability. Of course, we'll bring in the Spindle. Of course, we're going to have the Floral Tent. Sapduende, one of as a unique. And bringing the 3 Cuddly Corgis to get additional boosts for anything that comes out. And let us have a look at what they've got. I'm seeing the Tellurian Skater become almost a staple in the Tasia builds these days. The first Lyra Cloth Dancer unique was 2/2 for 0/3/1. When played from reserve, up to 1 target character gains fleeting. And then when a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less, other than being gains anchored. And I think we're going to see all these uniques be mass anchor functionality or availability. The second unique they've got is a 3/2 Keelon Elemental for 2/2/2 in stats. Very strong. on here as well. If you control 2 or more plants other than me, target character gains 1 boost, and that's when played from anywhere. When played from reserve, you may put a card from your hand in reserve, and then when a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchored. The third one being a Lyra Thespian 3/2 for 2/1/1. When played from anywhere, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, target character gains 2 boost. And when a character you control gains 1 or more boost, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less other than me gains anchored. So 2 of the uniques require 2 characters to be boosted, and in many cases, because they're anchored, they're staying boosted from the day before, so it's not a difficult measure to have. The Kilo Elemental, on the other hand, gets that benefit easily. So it's not an issue for them to be able to bring it out. Really strong uniques, really good to see that there. And then we had a Nevenka and Bloch be the third and final undefeated player in this tournament. And here, what we're really looking at is a unique Katagirian Mage Dancer. I'm looking at their deck. I love that there's the Sandman. Only 2 of them. 1 Loki. Interesting to see the Loki rare being played there. Magical training, of course, you're going to see that Acapella training. And I think Acapella training, given its cost, is fantastic to be able to play and really stop your opponent from using the double use of their cards by not allowing them to be played out of reserve by giving them fleeting. And I love that they've got the Esmeralda to be able to get some additional card advantage as well. And let us have a look at their unique. So the first one is a 2/2 Katagirian Mage Dancer for 1/2/1. When played from anywhere, roll a die. On a 4+, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. So this has potentially been able to bring a lot back from reserve to your hand. And when you roll 1 or more die, you may have target character other than me lose fleeting. Very, very nice. The second one is a unique Kappa, 3/3 for 4/2/4. And when played from hand, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. And the last one being and both the Katagirian Mage Dancer has a quick ability of the next character you play this turn gains 1 boost. The Kappa has a quick ability of you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. So you're basically able to do this twice. 1 from your hand, return a spell, or return a card, and then from reserve you trigger it and you can return a spell. So really, really good to return those drawing spells is what you're really after. The third one is 3/4/0/5/4, the Hatter. When you roll 1 or more dice, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. That is incredible. And this also has the traditional Hatter ability as a quick ability of up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less, other than me, gains anchored. We move on to Ace Single Elimination Tournament done by Altered Corner, and there was It's Rinku with his first win of the week. It was not his last, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So well done on Kojo and Buddha, and basically here using 2 Tooth Fairy uniques and 1 Huamulan unique. One thing of note, and as you're watching the video and then you can see this afterwards, is what he did with the composition of his deck. So changing some things up in terms of what he did here and what he did in his win in Dallas. Most importantly, though, is just 3 the messes, no additional cards, no additional landmarks were being played, which it was surprising for me to see on here. The other thing of note is what ended up changing. So the Isumboshi is being played 2 right now. He moves to 3 when we go to Dallas. The Bravos Pathfinder is also changing in their composition, but more than anything, there's a huge change, and this really comes to show how much people test and how much people validate what they do in their tournament play just prior to making the changes. But let's have a look at their unique. So 2/2 Tooth Fairy for 2/02 and Sabotage when played from anywhere, and a 3/3/0/22. Draw a card when played from anywhere, and when I leave the expedition zone, Sabotage. And we can see that this Tooth Fairy was the first Tooth Fairy, the 2/2/1, was not played in Dallas. The third one that they had is a Huamulan 4/4 for 2/3/2. When played from anywhere, you may discard a target character with hand cost 3 or less. And when played from reserve, if you control 2 or more boosted characters, I lose fleeting. So this is almost the ability of recurring a card discard for very little additional cost. Well done. It's Rinku on that one, getting the win in Ace. There was no AQZ tournament information available for the Nook. I'm hoping to bring that out next week for the 6th of August edition. Just waiting for that to become live on 39 cards. But we did have some information for AWOL Season 3 Week 8. the Wednesday, where we had HAT, so Hat Moosey Wallace getting the sole win on Sigismar and Wingspan. Very, very great. And we're seeing a lot more spells. Once again, 3 teamwork trainings, 3 tiny jails, 3 license withdrawals, 1 gift of self. So not really going for the card draw per se. Hypothermia, single hypothermia rallying call, 2 field reinforcements. Outside of that, everything looks pretty good, pretty normal. Outside of the rare Anubis being played, 1 single rare Anubis in there. Very interesting. But let's have a look at their uniques. The first unique they had was a 2/2 Amelia Earhart for 2/1/1, and at dusk, if you control 4 or more characters, draw a card. So that is at dusk, and when an opponent draws 1 or more cards or does resupply, create an Ordis Recruit 1/1/1 soldier token in your companion expedition. The second card they had as a unique was a 2/2 Baba Yaga, 1/2/1. At dusk, if you control 3 or more characters, draw a card. So Amelia Nick requires 4 or more characters. Baba Yaga requires 3 to draw a card. And it is at dusk, so it can happen both when played from hand and when played from reserve. The third of their uniques was an Ordis Night Warden 3/3 for 0/0/3. And when played from anywhere, if you control 3 or more characters, create 2 Ordis Recruit soldier tokens in my expedition. And when I gain a sleep, create an Ordis Recruit 1/1/1 soldier token in your hero expedition. Not sure how much the sleep component will be used, although they do have hypothermia to be able to use that. But very, very interesting. Very different kind of unique. I'm not used to seeing that in play, but congratulations for that win to you, HAT or Hat Moosey Wallace. And then that takes us to the AQZ Championship Tournament on the 31st of July, as this was not available last week, but I wanted to go through it, and there were 3 people that ended up winning. Gnome School, who is well known for his art, congratulations on your win with Kojo and Buddha. Overloss on Gulrang and Toxin, as well as Coco Chell on Tasia and Nara. Second time we've had a win by Tasia and Nara this week, or at least as I've presented it from a this week's perspective. So Gnome School with their Kojo and Buddha. One thing, if you look at it and compare it to Rinku's deck, Arcolino Milk being used, we have also got the Haven and the Mess being there, Duel of Grit in the rare, the 3 of them. Outside of that, very similar, although their uniques are very different, and this is a deck that also includes the Hunger. So you're seeing Mighty Djinns as well as Tiny Gems to be able to get the boost, the increase in mana ramp, but a very, very fun deck. I actually would like to replicate this deck because I love the use of the Hunger, especially as in Kojo when you have the ability of having your Buddha out as well and getting even more. All right, let's have a look at their uniques for Gnome School. A 2/2 Ouroboros Trickster for 0/2/2, and when played from anywhere, if you control 1 or more landmarks, roll the die. On a 4+, I gain 2 boosts. On a 1/3, I gain 1 boost, and when played from reserve, you also resupply. The Bravos Vanguard 2/3 for 3/3/3 is their second unique, and when played from reserve, you may have target character other than me lose fleeting. Let's go with the Ouroboros Inkcaster. The Ouroboros Trickster also has a quick ability of you may have target character other than me lose fleeting. And the Bravos Vanguard has the quick ability of the next character you play this turn gains 1 boost. And they also had a 3 Little Pigs unique. I don't get to see many 3 Little Pigs uniques used at all, but this was 3/3 for 4/2/3, and if you control 1 or more landmarks, resupply. And given what they've got in terms of 5 cards out of their 40 card deck or 39 card deck, will have a landmark. You should be able to resupply very quickly, and then the next character you play from your hand activates its from reserve ability if you choose to use its quick ability. Really, really nice. Congratulations. But let's have a look at the Overlosses Gulrang and Toxin deck. So they basically used the rare Monolith Legate, which we're seeing a lot more used, not just from its ability of being able to stop your opponent, but basically from getting rid of one of their cards after rest through sabotage. Then when played from reserve, many people are moving to just use its quick ability, so you're not using the spells, and that way creating a 2/2/2 token out in the field because you are Gulrang and Toxin, so you get that benefit. 3 Ordis Attorneys, which is also a given. Now, 1 unique Ordis Gatekeeper, 2 Atlases, and also this is the Isitok build. So what looks like to me is they don't want to progress. They really are not looking to progress at all until they hit their 8. Well, actually, that is a lie because, yes, it is, because there is no lie here because they're using common mobile armory rather than the rare mobile armory and choosing only to have 3 Messectets in play. Of course, the rare is what you'd look at. Conjuring Seals to get some draw ability as well. Conscription because you're going to be using that benefit from whoever's reserve is highest. And of course, you're going to see license withdrawals and teamwork training as a way of controlling what your opponent is putting out there as well. So looking at their uniques, the first Ordis Gatekeeper is 2/4 for 2/1/2, and when played from reserve, create an Ordis Recruit 1/1 soldier token in each of your expeditions. Lovely. But also, when another non-token character joins your expedition, you may put a card from your hand in reserve if you do create 2 Ordis Recruit 1/1 tokens in my expedition. The second card is an Atlas unique, 5/6 for 3/4/3, and tokens you control have Gigantic, and you may put a card from your hand in reserve if you do draw a card, so this happens both times when played from hand and from reserve, and it has a quick ability of create an Ordis Recruit soldier token in your companion expedition. The second Atlas unique that they have is 6/6 for 4/4/3, I have Gigantic. When you create a token, you may put a card from your hand in reserve if you do draw a card. So when you create a token, you may put a card from your hand in reserve to draw a card. So interesting to see that ability. That is crazy as long as you have enough cards that you can put in your hand, and hopefully cards you can put in your hand that have a quick ability so then you can use them and not waste them when they are put into reserve. The third of our heroes of our pilots that made it through with no defeats was Coco Cheu, and on their Tasia and Naura build. Here we're seeing a very similar build to the other, only 2 spindles rather than the 3. Double Sap Duende, 3 Spindle Harvester uniques, Ogun Sneezer Shrooms, so Sneezer Shrooms being used here. Of course, the Tellurian Skater, only 2, which we saw on the other one as well, that one as well as here. And the Cuddly Corgi and the Muna Caregiver, of course, looking for getting cards to have anchored as much as possible. So Mana Reaping coming out, Beauty Sleep, a single one of, and 3 shows as well. But in terms of their Spindle Harvesters uniques, so let's have a quick look at these. I do believe there will be mass anchoring as we go through it. So the first one is a 2/2 for 1/0/1. I gain anchored when played from anywhere. Actually, all 3 of these have the same ability of I gain anchored when played from anywhere. Really fantastic. And when a character you control gains 1 or more boosts. If I have 2 or more boosts up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less, other than me gains anchored, it has a quick ability of you may put a card from your hand in reserve. The second of the Spindle Harvesters is a 2/2/0/2/0. I gain anchored when played from anywhere, and when a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, if I have 2 or more boosts up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less, other than me gains anchored, so the same effect as the first one. And then the third unique, of course, is exactly the same. I gain anchored, and when a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, if I have 2 or more boosts up to 1 target character with hand cost 3 or less, other than me gains anchored, and this was 2/2 for 0/0/1. And it does have a quick ability of you may put a card from your hand in reserve, but that is definitely not the game plan you are looking for. You are just looking to anchor these cards and then get the benefit of those boosts to be able to bring other cards to have anchoring. Really, really strong in terms of its ability, and well done to them on that win. AQZ Championship, which happened on Thursday, we don't have that information available right now from 39cards.com. We are looking to get that, and I'll post that up next week. This and the one after will become the final ones of AQZ Championship that we will be presenting for this season, and hopefully everything will be back again for Season 4. Or for the release of the new set, pending what Team AQZ ends up doing. But I want to spend a few minutes talking about USA World Championship qualifiers in Dallas. 61 players were there, and its Rinku made it through with Kojo and Buddha, beating out Belteshazzar 91 in a mirror match with Kojo and Buddha v Kojo and Buddha. We had come in third and fourth, Phobia with a Chardian Surge. Symbiosis on Lindaway coming in fourth. Fifth was a Gulrang deck by Darth Fumbles. 2 Aphanuses, Infinite, and Silas coming all the way from Paris or from France to join us. And a third Kojo, Vint 6, making his way into the top 8. no Sigismar, which was a complete surprise for me, having represented Sigismar many, many times, and seeing this on the cast was really crazy. I had the opportunity to be there as part of the casting team, but also played 3 rounds before it was my turn to speak as a caster. Really, really fun tournament, really well organized by the people, by the team over there. We appreciate the guys in Dallas and what they were able to provide as a home for us. To enjoy it, but let's have a quick look at its Rinku's deck. So what we notice in terms of the changes he made from the tournament on Tuesday to the tournament on Saturday was the inclusion of two of additional Haven Bastions. So you had 2 Haven Bastions at the rare, as he did have none last time. Upgraded the Duel of Grit, so making sure that there were 3 rare ones available. So really focused more on the interaction against his players, which was really, really good to see. But they also changed out one of their uniques, and I want to spend a bit of time again looking at the uniques that its Rinku changed. And really, what he did is he replaced the Tooth Fairy that was sabotage or double sabotage with the Order Spy 4/3 for 2/3/2, and this is when played from anywhere. Sabotage, and when played from hand, if you control 1 or more landmarks, you may discard target character with hand cost 3 or less. So really taking in the elements of the Hua Mulan unique that he had, and also incorporating that into the Order Spy. Much more interaction, as I said, and this allowed him to play a much more balanced game. I played against Rinku. He did beat me in. We went to the final round. Unfortunately, I lost by 1 stat, but that's okay. My teammate and friend managed to make it and win out and get that ticket to Paris. I'm proud of him, as are all of us here. Not only those that are part of Team AQZ, but also those that were present. We have a representative, the first representative that is non-French background to be in the world qualifiers, and there are plenty more to come as the time goes on. It was a fantastic tournament. Common Ground Games, we appreciate the work you did in hosting that, and Vin and your team as well. Vic and your team, really, really, really good job. We were very, very lucky to be able to be present, both myself and Nick, as part of a Hero's Guide to Asgartha, and also got to meet a number of people in the community, both that are content creators and players. But it was just a fun environment where everyone was excited to see each other perform, and everyone's excited to see people that play this game we love together. And that is it from the results side for the week. Next week, we're also going to be talking about the BGA tournament that happened online for Europe, which had not 1 but 2 spots on the line, as well as the weekly tournaments on BGA. This is going to be great, and I look forward to seeing you next time.